I used to work in a hotel as a security guard. The building was built in 1922 and it had a basement. One night, the front desk clerk, the valet, and I are just hanging out in the lobby just chatting when a phone ring. The phone call was coming from the basement where office are. At that time, there are supposed to be none in the basement office. I already locked the doors and make sure that no one is in there. The front desk pick up the phone, heard a weird noise and got disconnected. It gives me chill to the bones. The valet guy and I went down to make sure that no one didn't trespass. The doors are still locked, and didn't see anyone coming out, so we went inside the office. The only thing we found is the phone blinking, and looks like someone pick it up and drop it. The valet and I look at each other, and seen the cold sweat on our faces. That is one of creepiest thing that happened to me when working as a graveyard security. I thought this would be a pretty cool thing for everyone to read. I've worked at this vet clinic for 4 years now. There was a clinic kid named Jingles who ended up passed overnight. It was really sad for all of us. Jingles was a real character. Seriously mischievous little thing. She passed December 24, 2018. Ever since that day we all have had experiences with Jingles. I was the one who was working Christmas, so sadly I found her. I called my coworkers to come say bye, and started filling out cremation paperwork. I walked away from the computer for a moment to just breathe, came back, and there was a bunch of random letters where I was typing. Jingles was notorious for walking and laying on any keyboard she saw that was in use. Always was messing up our notes. I was speechless. I didn't even want to delete the letters. Couple weeks later, I'm alone taking care of the boarders for the weekend. I had these 4 small dogs, who were always very good and pretty quiet. They would bark when I came in but quieted down when they realized it's me. So I come in, they bark for a couple minutes, then they calm down. I was finishing up mopping the floor around their kennels when 2 of them just go insane. They were both looking at the same area of the room, howling and barking like I've never heard them bark before. Jingles would stand right where they were looking, and tease dogs. She was so unafraid of everything it worried me sometimes. I said, "Jingles, you troublemaker. Go to your bed," and like 30 seconds later they stopped barking, and were totally fine. Had to be Jingles. I know these dogs well, and they are very calm for the most part. This one is pretty funny. I smelled her ghost poop. Her poops were some of the nastiest smelling poops I've ever encountered, and I've smelled a lot of poops in my days. All I can say is her poops were foul enough to recognize. I walked into her old room, where no cat has been in months, to clean it up, for the new cat we were going to bring in, and I was hit with her nasty poop stench. I've gone in there many times before to store things, so I know it wasn't always smelling like her poop. Even when she was alive it didn't always smell like her poop. I had my coworkers come in the room, and they agreed it was her foul poop. Jingles took a little ghost dookie. I'll end after this. Our new clinic cat is Ramen. We constantly see him playing like there is another cat with him. He stands up on his hind legs swatting at nothing. Acts like he's pouncing on something that isn't there. Stalks something that isn't there. Pretty much everything 2 cats would do together is what we see Ramen do with nothing. It's pretty interesting to watch. We all agree Jingles is definitely still around. She knocks over alcohol bottles, swats Q-tips off the counters. Sometimes dogs on the table will have a reaction like a cat just jumped up next to them. Love you Jingles, you were and are one hell of a cat. I was working in a restaurant that specialized in noodles. and was on my lunch. We had just finished lunch rush, and had gotten everything ready for dinner. It was around 2:30 p.m., and I was sitting at the bar facing the front, eating lunch, and the cook came over and sat with me. About 10 minutes later, as both of us were sitting there, my boss comes running from the back of the restaurant out to where we were eating. She went through the dining room and then came over to the cook and I. She asks, "Where is that customer at?" We both looked at each other and then said, "No one has been in for 20 minutes. She then says to us, "I was working at the desk, and looked out the window but I noticed a customer standing in front of the register. I figured you took care of them but looked back at the screen, 5 minutes later and the customer was still standing there. That is when I came out to look for the customer, and then ring you two out but the customer is gone." We once again told her, "No one has been in for 20 minutes. We would also get customers, reporting they saw a small child, out of the corner of their eye, run into the ladies' restroom, unsupervised. The customer would then get up, and go look for the kid, and the kid was never there. This happened at least twice a week at all different times. Last one, sorry for such a long post. The street in front of the restaurant was getting repaved at night, so there was a construction crew outside from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. After about a week of construction, a crew member came into the restaurant to ask what our hours are. I told him 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday night. He said, "That's what I thought, but you have people on your restaurant at 2 a.m. I said we should not, and he was sure he noticed them twice last week. I asked the gentleman if he could wait for 5 minutes, as I went to the back to check the security tape. Lo and behold, no one on the tape at 2 a.m. I showed the gentleman the tape. After he watched it, he did the sign of the cross, and ran out of the restaurant. When I was in my 20s, during mid-90s, I took a part-time job at a medical uniform store my friend was managing. It was in an odd place in the Oakland area. The entrance was on a steep side street. Above our basement store was a Wendy's, across the street from the old children's hospital. Now to the story. When I started, my friend Debbie warned me that strange things happened there. The door alert would ding when no one had entered. You could sit in the office and hear metal hangers moving like someone was shopping, and see feet go past the door. All while, no customers were present. I experienced all of this, and more in the few months I was there. Shortly after starting, some new creepy things happened. Water would start flowing out of the dressing rooms, and would stop once the whole store was covered. Huge swarms of flying insects would fill the store, and the fluorescent lights would all start blinking on and off. The owner of the building was blindsided by this, and called in professionals to look into it. No cause was found. The strangest thing though, is when I was vacuuming one morning, and looked up to see an old black woman standing inside one of the clothing racks, as if to stay out of the way. We looked at each other. I think we were both a bit shocked that I could see her. After that, I left, and Debbie said she found out that spot was once where the black dorms were, back when the University of Pittsburgh was still segregated. I've often wondered if she was the house mom, and just never left. A little backstory, I worked at Dunk's. It was a relatively new building. It was in the middle of a plaza parking lot. Definitely not spooky surroundings. But, I kid you not, this place was most certainly haunted. Here's a few experiences. My coworkers would tell me it was haunted, but I laughed it off. I'm a huge believer in the paranormal, but come on. A Dunkin Donuts? Then came my first experience. We were closed, and finishing dishes in the back. All of a sudden, a loud banging on the back door, and the doorknob started rattling. I assumed it was someone asking for the throwaway donuts, which does actually happen quite a bit, but no one was there. Being in the middle of the parking lot, we would have been able to see someone if they banged on the door then left. Another time, I was in the back by myself, cleaning up, when I heard clear as day,
"Hey Rissa."
Nobody calls me Rissa except my dad. Everyone at work calls me by my full name. Another time, in the back room again, myself and a coworker heard another coworker talking. Only problem, she wasn't there at the time. We were both able to identify her voice right away. It sounded just like her. That same coworker was there another day and broke down in tears. She said, as she was helping a customer, right in her ear, she heard her grandmother talking. She had to leave because she was so beside herself. Now on to the weirdest and most unexplained experience. A coworker and I were in the back room, cleaning as usual. We had locked up the front. I had just finished cleaning the dining area. That includes putting the chairs upside down on the table. As we're cleaning, we hear the ding of the door, signaling that someone has come in. Knowing we locked the doors, my coworker and I both looked at each other, pretty freaked out. I go around the corner and look, and of course there's no one. The doors are freaking locked. No one could get in. So I go back into the back room, and we try to finish up quickly. Then all of a sudden, there's a loud crash. One of the chairs had fallen off the table. Freaked out, I went and took all the chairs down. I'll be damned if another one falls. At this point, we're flying through nightly chores. Then, we hear the distinct sound of a chair being pulled out. I look again, and the same chair was pulled away from the table. My coworker and I decided fuck that, we had to leave. We left everything and locked up. So in conclusion, who the hell would haunt a Dunks and why? I work in a 2-floor coffee store. Now that my country is still in lockdown due to the damn virus, we only take orders to take away, so no one is allowed to stay in, and the second floor is forbidden for everyone. My workmates and I have been working in the same store for 4 years so far. Only one of my workmates sometimes told us that she had heard some weird noises at night when she was cleaning during the night shift. But, as no one had ever heard anything, we didn't take it seriously. When the lockdown started, and our store was quiet with no noise of any customer, we started to hear noises that came from the second floor. These noises were like the noise that a chair or a table does when you push it. A couple of months ago, after having heard several times those noises, a father and his toddler son came to the store. While the father was waiting for his order, the little kid was wandering around until he stopped by the stairs and stared at the second floor. The father asked his kid what was there, and the kid said he was watching the dead man that was upstairs. The young father didn't know what to say, and then they left, and my workmates were literally shocked. The last few weeks, or actually the last months, the store was pretty quiet and no one noticed any weird noise until today. We were only 3 people on the first floor. We again heard the noise of a chair moving, but this time was louder than ever, plus a new noise of the air conditioner turning off and on. I am usually skeptic, so I am always thinking in all the possible logical solutions. Hence, I think the AC might have sounded due to a micro cut on the light supply, so it restarted itself. However, I can't really think of any reason about the noises of the chair, because the sounds are, as if someone were pushing them. Besides, the only building that is next to us is currently empty, so no noise can come from nearby buildings. I know I said I'm skeptic. Nonetheless, having heard those noises, I open to believe in new possibilities. The store is not too old. Might it be that one builder died, and therefore his soul has been trapped there? We haven't heard anything before, because we were not in lockdown, so now that is everything quieter, we are able to hear the noises. Or maybe, there was an already haunted house, previously, and therefore my store is also haunted. I only hope that if my store is really haunted, the entity, or whatever doesn't follow me to my house.